Yo, I'm back. I am the Foul Hooked Whitey with my esteemed guest, Travis Morris from Hart Montgomery Outdoors, a long-standing fly fishing industry territory sales rep crew. So we left off talking about MFC and how great of tires there are, their high standards as far as production. The brains I brought up because, they signed Kelly Gallup. It's like, fuck. I mean, if he was available, there should have been a fucking bidding war for that guy. I mean, that sounds a little dramatic, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Because I told you when you came in, bugs have gotten expensive.
They have.
And I'm now up to $795 for a articulated sex dungeon, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said it's called a dungeon. It's not, they don't even put the SEX in front of it anymore.
You can if you want.
Well, I fucking do. Are you kidding? I mean, well, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Are you telling me there's been a brushback on that as far as being misogynistic?
A few years ago, there were some articles that came up about some of the naming of flies and things. And they were going off.
Jesus.
They were going off rails and things like that.
The master's gone off the rail.
Well, we have to. So we stepped. A lot of us stepped back for that reason.
You and PC. You and PC.
I wouldn't say it went completely PC, but we definitely.
I don't mean
brands. A lot of names for flies have kind of mellowed.
I didn't mean that as far as political correctness. I meant that as far as pussy correctness.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what we're talking about here.
So, yeah. So they're the dungeons.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, they're still labeled as sex dungeons at East Rosebud.
That's fine with me.
All right. Okay. So give me one more brand to talk about here next. You surprised me with this one. This is somebody you represent.
St. Croix.
Okay, St. Croix. Now, St. Croix's that's really the story of this get together.
Yes.
Because when I'm good, when my business is good, I'm ordering my MFC bugs no matter what. Right. Just because, that's why you're here, is to sell me on a spring order.
Right.
And it takes 4 to 6 months for these fuckers to build these.
Yes.
That's simple. Okay. So St. Croix is special to me because they were the first fly rod company I opened with in 2009 and that I actually sold.
Mm-hmm.
That means that I had Imperials and I sold a ton of Imperials. Like they were really easy for me to sell because they were a good rod, American made at the time, and really a good price point.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So since then, both my business and St. Croix both kind of went like that away from each other for varied reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could say St. Croix is back.
Yes.
Let me hear it.
Yeah. St. Croix is back.
Okay.
And I remember that day that I met with you for the first time when you was just going to get your shot go. And they showed you St. Croix.
Well, and the reason that St. Croix and that initial meeting was so impactful to me was because what ended up happening is I actually sold their rods.
Yes.
Now, let me explain that. $1,000 fly rod sales don't grow on trees. I've sold a bunch of 4-digit rods, $1,000 more.
Yeah.
But that's only because I've been doing it a long time. Nobody's paying. I needed St. Croix. I needed to sell rods when I opened up with St. Croix back in 2009. You could almost say that St. Croix would be one of those few brands that I would say 20 years later is the fucking reason I'm still here. You understand that?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you because, the thing that I hear all the time out there is, oh, you're St. Croix rep. That was one of my very first fly rods. That was, that's what I got started on. I still have it. I still fish it.
And to St. Croix, when it comes to the fly rod element to their business, because they make it all right. They have a big spin assortment that they manufacture there in Wisconsin.
Yep. Yeah. Still in Wisconsin. Been there for a long time.
Who owns St. Croix?
Well, the brothers still own.
Okay.
The brothers still own, so it's still family owned.
Okay.
The brothers still own it. They're on the board. They have a president, vice president running the company, and when we first met, you and I, to sell you St. Croix, we were doing a handful of different fly rods.
Yeah.
And then years later, and I think it was basically because of their sales in conventional tackle at the time was the majority of their business. Fly was kind of getting into that quiet zone, so I kind of stepped away from it.
I would assume their volume is still in the spin game.
It is. Absolutely.
I mean, they're
the leaders in bass. They're one of the leaders in bass fishing.
And they make good rods. They make good spin rods. They make
Yes.
good spin rods, right? They
They
do. They make good ones.
They made phenomenal. They still make phenomenal spinning rods. They still do. And they always made good fly rods.
But something happened. They ended up, like you said, got into the no growth zone.
Yep.
And then, you can only make so many rods as a company.
Right.
So they just kind of weren't as relevant as they were 5, 8, 10 years prior.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they stepped away from it, got quiet, kind of got out of the fly game.
Entirely?
There for a while where they were out of it. Pretty much, I would say entirely. They weren't really making rods. They were trying to keep up with parts and covering warranties and things like that. And then just in the last couple of years, here they are.
Okay. And I mean, and they hired, is Zach Dalton?
Yeah.
Is that
Zach
okay
Dalton.
for me to drop Dalton's name?
Yeah.
I met Zach.
Yeah.
I met him when he was a Sage.
Yeah, he was working for Farbank there for quite a while. He started when Rio was Rio in Idaho Falls.
Well, and he's a rod designer, correct?
Yeah, he helps develop the rods. And this comment, I tell dealers now, this comment is no disparaging comment to the previous people. It's like, no, the guy who is one of the engineers is still one of the best engineers in rods and technology smart than you can ever meet, believe it or not. And he's still there.
Isn't it interesting how that's harder now than it was 20 years ago?
Yeah. Because
everybody makes a good fucking rod.
There's a lot of great rods out.
Holy fuck. Well, but we're not talking, St. Croix obviously can make whatever they want, and that includes great rods, but we're not really talking about great rods. And I don't mean St. Croix. I mean what's out there.
Right.
Like now it's like you've got 2 or 3 nationally sold import brands.
Yep.
Right? TFO, Echo. Right. Great fucking rods, both companies for the money, right? I mean, who could argue that even a snob like me?
There's
right.
Yeah. The beauty of St. Croix now, like I said, is, not disparaging, but we got Zach Dalton behind the wheel helping design. And that's one thing. We've always made great rods.
Yeah.
But we've never really had a true fly rod designer, if you will, if you know what I mean.
That's interesting. Of course I do.
So
of course I do.
Now we have Zach on it, and that's probably the biggest difference from when I started with St. Croix, stepped away for a little while when they got out of the fly rod kind of thing, stepped away, and then came back to about 2 years ago.
When you talk about a fly rod designer and a proprietary fly rod designer, dude, that's all he does for that company. Here's the thing, the reason that really resonates with me is because, G. Loomis, right? Like every fly rod they've ever produced has been designed by one dude. Think about that. Like, Jesus, that's a 30-year tenure. Right. And they never tried to go cheap. They never tried to get somebody new. They never, So when you've got a good rod designer, that shit matters.
It does matter. It matters a lot.
It matters a lot. Like a lot more than, my listenership and nobody would care to think about.
Right. And then to your point, the other great thing that's still great about St. Croix and it still blows my mind to this day is we, out of the six models of fly rods we have out there out there right now.
Yeah.
They're all made in the U.S. but one.
Well, thank you for dropping that nug, because that was where I was intended to go, was like, where is their production model now? And it's the fact that Americans are making them.
Yeah.
And do you really know how rare that is under $500?
Very rare this day.
Okay. I'm sure you've got some price points over $500 in St. Croix. I get it. But if you're making an American made fly rod, and it really is American made.
Yep.
That doesn't mean, everything but the wraps were made in China and then sent over here and they're being wrapped here. They're fucking blanks are getting cut here. right? That to me, that's American made. I mean, that is non-existent under $500 with the exception of a vendor.
Yeah,
I think
no. I'm trying to think. I don't think
the foundation, unless it's been marked up by Sage, is still $495.
Yeah.
And so that's the one I tell people all the time: least expensive American made fly rod sold. And now I can't say that.
No.
So this renaissance with St. Croix in that Zach Dalton generation, right, of supervision. How long has it been? You got rods out on the rack right now? Or is this all a swing? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
We're still, it's crazy. The Imperial's still in the lineup at $395.
Wow.
USA. Made Wisconsin. I mean, we're talking, you said not made elsewhere and then wrapped. These, I personally can tell you, I've been to the factory 8 times in my lifetime, and they are rolling blanks.
Yeah.
Right there.
Well, you have to clarify, because some rod builders have fudged that.
Yeah.
They fudge that, like,
Absolutely.
they get them from Mexico or other places, and then they get assembled here. But here's the point: is that that's a rare thing now, because I with Echo, and I'm an Echo dealer. I'm a proud fucking Echo dealer. I mean, Jesus Lord, I've sold 1 million Echoes anyway. There's been inside of 120 days 2 price increases.
Yeah.
So when you say an American-made Imperial, which is a great stroke of a fly rod,
okay, great rod,
that's at $399. I'm now selling Chinese-made sticks at $3.
Yes.
Okay, so you're not really that much more, and I stress that to my audience of, again, nobody, because I mean, if you can buy American, you fucking should buy American,
right? And and you mentioned that like that. What's crazy about that also is look how many rods are in the industry right now that are made overseas that are in that mid-price level now of $400 to $600 or $700.
I can't believe it.
There's a lot of them, and and that's why I'm happy to say that St. Croix has brought back the Legend Elite rod 2026, and it's under $600 USA made.
Yeah, that's a good rod. I mean, that's the one nice thing about St. Croix. They always kept their rod weight in check. Yeah. And I mean, as in producing a super lightweight rod for the money.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. All right, so St. Croix's back, and I'll have them on my racks right after the first of the year.
Yep.
That's what we're looking at.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about another vendor that you represent. I mean, we're never going to be able to cover it all, but drop one more vendor name.
Well, let's talk Ross Reels.
Okay. Yeah. So Ross is a lot like St. Croix in the sense that their pedigree, I mean, they're the amount of, I mean, God, Ross was probably back in the mid 90s, which is when I started fishing with a fly. Ross was probably the first top tier reel I bought. And ironically, the motherfucker was called an Evolution. I mean, okay. I appreciate you laughing because you understand. Nobody's listening to us.
Yeah.
So nobody else is laughing. But it's funny because that Evolution is still in their fucking lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 20 years later, right? And here's the cool thing about Ross, I think. They're a lot like St. Croix in the sense that they lost their way. I mean, Ross is a top tier reel company. As good as anything made in the United States. They cover it all, entry level, all the way up to a $800-900 good saltwater reel. I mean, they got the shit. They got a repertoire.
Yeah.
Okay. They also don't fuck around. They don't waste anything. All of their reels, to me, in terms of what they offer, fit.
Yes.
Okay. They went through a stretch when these motherfuckers thought they were going to build something that would appeal to your high-end reel guy and your entry level. And that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
Okay. Maybe Lamson pulls that off, but nobody else does. Right. In my opinion. That's why I like what Ross is doing, because Ross makes reels for specific aspects of both fresh and saltwater fishing, but their lineup is priced accordingly. It's expensive. Ross is an expensive reel.
We're not a cheap reel.
No, you want the best freshwater Ross that's made, which is an Evolution LTX, right? Purely fresh, $5.
Right.
$5. You know, as like $1,000 rod sale doesn't grow on trees. Neither does a $500 trout reel sale.
Right.
Okay. But what I like about Ross is you put Ross reels in people's hands and you get the correct reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have been selling fly reels professionally for a long time, and it's like selling a fucking watch. I sell a lot of reels. Nobody ever asked me about the drag components. They fucking know. Nobody ever asked me about anything having to do with the manufacturing or the component element to a fucking reel.
Right.
I mean, maybe once in a while, but not much.
Yeah.
It's like a watch. You put it in their hands and they turn it. They hear it. They feel it. And that's what makes them, sell.
Yeah, we make phenomenally gorgeous reels that are really, really good. They're built well.
All right.
But they look good. You're right. And we've been around a
long fucking time. 40 years, right?
73?
Okay. Jesus. That's when AC/DC started. Years. 50 fucking years.
Yeah, I want to say 73, right?
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna do one more.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do one more. So, and we'll come back and we'll wrap up with Ross reels. Okay.
Sounds good.
So this is the Foul Hooked Whitey. I'm with Travis Morris from Hart Montgomery Outdoor Sales. That's the end of episode 2. We're out.